You wouldn't be much of a hero without a villain, and you do love being a hero, don't you? The cheering children, the swooning women. You love it so much, it's made you my most reliable accomplice.
Accomplice?
Imagine a world where the greatest superhero comes to a realization that he's been going about justice all wrong, where the only villains to exist anymore are the ones we used to look up to as heroes. At what point does it take to crack the symbol of justice and peace and flip him into the symbol of authoritarian regime? Yo! Welcome back to the House of Animation. It's your boy Jay, back with another banger of a video. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the thought-provoking themes of the Justice League two-part episode titled A Better World. But first, let's drop that intro. In this two-part episode, the Justice League find themselves in a parallel universe where the roles of the hero and villains are reversed. A concept not so original, but for the time, it hit different because back then, the game wasn't overly saturated with superhero movies, let alone what ifs. That was more delegated to the comics. In this alternate universe, the Justice Lords, a group of superheroes or tyrants, depending on how you like your justice, similar to the Justice League in every aspect, except they played no games. Like, bruh, even if you were outside disputing a bill, they will pull up and give you a look. They ruled the world with an iron fist under the Justice Lord version of Superman. This arc sees the Justice League trying to find a way back into their own universe after getting finessed, while also trying to prevent the Justice Lords from causing harm in their universe. The themes that we're going to explore today are, first off, power and corruption, secondly, the importance of freedom and democracy, and lastly, the power of teamwork and choices. Let's get it. What would drive Superman to melt someone's head off? What made this man snap? Lex Luthor. Hold up, let me put some respect on his name. President Luthor. Imagine your number one op repeatedly crossing the line and committing crimes. I'm talking about a habitual line stepper. But at what point does the hero realize that he has to cross the line he's tiptoed around since day one? Oh, that's right, smoking your closest friend. And not only that, taking away the very heart of the Justice League. The death of the Flash was the price of Luthor's latest scheme, and that caused the beginning of the corruption of Superman. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman burst into the White House, easily washing the Secret Service. And as Superman pulls up to the Oval Office, we see a power-hungry Luthor scrambling. And just as our favorite Boy Scout is about to follow his routine sense of democratic justice, President Luthor exhibits how extreme power can corrupt someone by pulling out the nuke button. Knowing that Superman would never cross that line, Luthor taunts him by telling him the truth, telling Superman his sense of justice has caused him to be Luthor's greatest accomplice. And even if Superman arrested him, he'd be out in a couple of days, blatantly saying Superman doesn't have the balls to do what needs to be done. And after pressing Superman's final button, this man Luthor reaches for the nuke one. And in that exact moment is where Luthor found out very quickly, because in the next scene, we see Luthor get barbecued. And honestly, in one of my favorite scenes in this whole episode, we see Batman and Wonder Woman outside the Oval Office getting a whiff of the freshly barbecued Luthor. Realizing what has happened, they bust into the Oval Office and Batman states it had to be done, with Wonder Woman still shocked, asking Superman, is he okay? And Superman is standing there with his big old grin on his face. He replies with a, I'm great. And as the camera slowly pans out of the Oval Office, we see the birth of the Justice Lord. Damn son, what a way to open your episode up. In 2 years, the world is under the authoritarian rule of the Justice Lords, who will protect peace at any cost, fully embodying ends justify the means. This version of the League is so drunk with power that it forces Batman to lock himself in his cave to find another way to combat crime in a world that's essentially crimeless. The president is not able to hold an election as he's a puppet for the Justice Lord. Green Lantern, who to me was one of the greatest role models as a kid, does not see an issue with the growing dissent from the public as they are sent to Smallville to suppress a protest. And worst of all, Lois, the only person who has the balls to tell Superman that he's tripping, is a prisoner in her own home. The theme of power and corruption is fully put on display as we see the Justice Lords who have been corrupted by their powers and now use that to impose their idea of justice forcefully, but that justice is flawed and they justify their actions by saying the ends justify the means. This raises the question, is it right to use one's power to impose their own idea of justice on others? They are no longer the heroes that we once thought thought them to be, and their methods of dealing with criminals are extreme, to say the least. The Justice League sees firsthand how the power can corrupt even the most well-intentioned heroes. In the Justice Lord's universe, there's no freedom, no democracy, and no way for the people to have a say in how they're governed. No freedom of speech, even when the president is seen getting shut down by the Justice Lord Superman when he asks if he can hold an election, because it's like a fall tradition, like football. And it's funny because this episode came out in 2003. I was 9 at the time, and the president in office was Bush. And honestly, this is some shit that he would have said. But on a serious note, these episodes were written in the days leading up to the Iraq invasion. And if you don't know why the Bush administration and Congress decided to invade Iraq, was because the US claimed that the intent was to disarm Iraq of weapons of mass destruction and to end Saddam Hussein's support for terrorism, as well as to free the Iraqi people. And I'm a firm believer in that no matter what the intent is, bro, we are only defined by our actions. And this 2-part episode definitely did not hide the fact that it was influenced by the real life times, paralleling the real life, both with the US and the Justice Lords embodying the sense of ends justifying the means. The writers noticed several similarities between the Bush administration's policies and the way that the Justice Lords were moving and operating, and honestly, they were left disturbed. The writers also stated that they did not intend to have a parallel episode, but rather a compelling story, and dog, did they deliver. We can see the parallels in the Justice League and the Justice Lords' way of enforcing their sense of justice. When we finally get to see the Justice League, they're introduced halfway through part 1, and they're introduced fighting Lex Luthor over a weapon, and this is all coming from the viewpoint of the Justice Lords, who see that there's a democratic universe where the Flash is still alive and baddies commit crimes repeatedly and then use their get out jail free card. And we see more parallels with the democratic way and the authoritarian way. Right before Lex Luthor is about to get captured in the Justice League's universe, he says, "Bro, I'll be out within a day," and Wonder Woman responds mad funny like, "Bro, not with broken legs you won't. I was hollering." Versus the alt universe, when Lex had a chance to be captured, Superman fried this man. Also, when the Justice Lord sees the shenanigans that are going on in the Justice League universe, they're so horny with power that they can't resist the need to impose their will on the League's world. And shoot, with a world with no crime, I know Batman was bored, so what did he do? He built a portal, obviously, so they can go into the Justice League's universe, giving them the choice to use it. When questioning the Justice Lord Batman's ambiguity over using the actual portal, he states, "You're talking about helping them, but what they accept are kind of help." As he looks at Superman, a bit of foreshadowing to later show that he isn't fully drunk with power. Deciding to use it, they send Martian Manhunter, who goes and finesses the League, which is crazy. And them being the democratic freedom fighters just like that, they tell the variants like, "Alright bro, you say y'all need help? Let's go get help." And dog, this is why Batman is my favorite superhero hands down. While the J-Lord Martian Manhunter is talking, he whispers over to Martian Manhunter and asks him, "Yo, do Martians read each other's minds?" Which Martian Manhunter responds to saying that, "No, we don't do that." And Batman responds saying, "Can't or won't," with a Cold Stone look. And Martian Manhunter responds back by saying both, meaning that Martian Manhunter is not willing to infringe on his own people's freedom, especially not to enact his own sense of justice. This scene right here goes to show you just what the League represented. After getting finessed and captured by the J-Lords, part 1 ends with the J-Lords crossing over into the Justice League's universe and facing off against Doomsday. And after a tense battle, we see the J-Lord version of Superman lobotomize Doomsday, to much of the applause of the crowd and this googly eye mother blubber right here. But yet again, Lois is the only voice of reason and notices that this was highly uncharacteristic, since Superman acted as the judge, jury, and executioner, thus foregoing the democratic ways of due process of speedy trial and innocent until proven guilty. The Justice League understands that without these freedoms, society can quickly devolve into chaos and tyranny. They realize that it's important to fight for the freedoms that people deserve, not what they think they should have. The third and final theme is the power of friendship. Just kidding, I mean teamwork and choice. In part 2, we open up to a locked up Batman and Flash, with the Justice League Batman asking why, only to hear because y'all couldn't do what needed to be done from the J-Lord Batman. This opening scene shows how much chemistry the Justice League has, is, as Batman leaves it up to the Flash to find a way to finesse the J-Lord Batman, since the J-Lord Batman would know every move that Batman would do, but the Flash would be unpredictable, who speeds up his heart rate to stimulate a flatline. Not wanting to see another Flash die on his watch, Bats immediately goes to check this and gets finessed. After unlocking the rest of the Justice League, the team splits up, leaving Hawkgirl to the rest of the team and Batman to his counterpart. But leaving alone, only he can turn his variant. No argument, no nothing. Everyone just understands the assignment and it allows for the team to turn the tide. As the rest of the team is saving Hawkgirl at Arkham Asylum, where the staffers are mostly lobotomized villains from the Batman's rogue gallery, they have to fight off Superman bots in order to save her. And in one of the best scenes in the whole two-part arc, we get to see why Batman is him. Knowing that the League Batman will go to the cave, he is intercepted by the J-Lord version. And first off, RP to the GOAT Kevin Conroy, because he was putting on a performance. The way he was able to voice the same character at the same damn time and give us raw, contrasting points of views, man, give that man an Emmy.
The problem with democracy is it doesn't keep you very safe. It has other virtues, but you seem to have forgotten them. I didn't forget. I just chose peace and security instead. You grabbed power, and with that power, we've made a world where no 8-year-old boy will ever lose his parents because of some punk with a gun.
On one hand, the Justice League Bats stresses the importance of choice and democracy, and by stripping that away, you're essentially seizing all the power for yourself, to which the J-Lord Batman is on the side of eliminating choice to create a crimeless world where there's no pain, and this will keep the world safe. But more importantly, a world where no 8-year-old boy has to lose his parents to some punk with a gun. Damn, I'm not gonna lie, I've always remembered this scene, and this is another reason why Bats is my favorite superhero. This man made the choice to not fight crime and better yet not kill, all specifically because his parents died. After hearing this, Batman has no choice but to throw in the towel and agrees to go with the J-Lord's Bats to stop the rest of the team. And what I loved about this episode was that it perfectly showed how the world created by the J-Lord was indeed flawed, as we see both Batmans riding around in the Batmobile, bending corners and breaking mad traffic laws. Shoot, Batman almost causes a whole accident. After peeping that there's no litter on the streets, Bats is shocked to see how minimal amount of crime is actually in the J-Lord's universe. And the J-Lord Bats tells him that the only way to enforce the big laws is to stress the little one. And this is why Bats is my guy, because he pettily stops at a red light and chastises J-Lord Bats by saying, "Mom and Dad would definitely be proud of this world you created." This is the turning point for the J-Lord's Batman. The Justice League Batman understood that the only way to swing his variant to the other side was by allowing him to fully see how corrupt his world that he created was. That man brought that boy to the water and allowed him to drink, thus giving him the choice to choose. Just like the J-Lord Batman gave his team the original choice to use the portal. And after getting help from the J-Lord's Bats and escaping back into their own universe, Batman further puts his trust in the team and Superman when he questions how are we going to stop the versions of ourselves who are willing to kill, to which Superman states he won't cross that line. Batman notes that a line must be crossed in order for them to win. The League eventually finesses their variants in the same manner that they finessed them in part 1. And honestly, like, what's good with these people? It's like they see a piece of candy and they just go for it without any thought. As the League and the Lords are fighting their respective counterparts, except for Superman and obviously the J-Lord's Flash, we see the Flash and the J-Lord's Superman facing off. And thinking that somehow he could change Superman's mind, since the Flash in his universe was the reason why the J-Lords became who they were, it's to no avail, as the J-Lord Superman is fully drunk with power and does not want to turn back. And right as the J-Lord Superman is about to barbecue the Flash, Superman pulls up with Lex Luthor, who has the weapon he was working on in part 1, hitting all the Lord variants and revealing this weapon to be a power disruptor. Yes, to be his own self, Superman partnered up with his #1 op. And with all the Justice Lords finally depowered, the Justice Lord Superman tells his counterpart that everything that this Lex Luthor does from now on will be on his hands, to which Superman replies with a, "Hey man, dog, that's just one of the hardest choices I've had to make today, but I am willing to take that accountability on." Mirroring the very opening scene from part 1, but with the latter taking the democratic way. And as the episode ends, we see Luthor pulling up on the Justice League as if he's going to take this moment to seize their power. But instead, he hands over the weapon to Superman, stating, stating that a deal is a deal, revealing that he actually got a full presidential pardon in order to help the League. This episode ends with Luthor actually turning his attention to politics and Superman noticing a tattered American flag on the floor, symbolizing how easy one can make a choice to throw away the democratic way in favor of all power. As he proudly stands it up, it symbolizes the fact that allowing people to not have their ability to have their choice taken away is the way. This episode shows the Justice League split up and are forced to work together in different ways to achieve their goals. They understand that they are strong together than when they are alone. Through their cooperation and teamwork, they are able to overcome the challenges that they face, and ultimately that is what leads to the defeat of the Justice Lords. A Better World Part 1 and 2 exploring some important themes that are relevant in our world today. It shows us the dangers of unchecked power, the importance of freedom and democracy, the power of teamwork. It is a great example of the kind of thought-provoking storytelling that makes Justice League one of my favorite cartoons of all times, hand down. It is a beloved series. Well, folks, that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you for stopping by the channel. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Make sure to turn them alerts and notifications on. It really helps the channel grow. And also leave a comment down below on what you thought of this video. Well, with that, you already know what it is, baby. Gotta blast.